Hello, this is a video on how to create a lesson in Moodle. I'm using Moodle version 2.7. The first thing you need to do is on your course page, turn on your editing. Now scroll down to add an activity and then to lesson. This brings you to the settings menu of your lesson. So expand all so you can see all the different settings. First, you need your name. For this lesson, we're going to create a lesson on color theory. Here's a spot where you can add a file if you have some print already created. Just a reminder that if you click on this question mark, it will bring up information about the setting you're working with. In this case, it's asking whether you would like a progress bar or not. A progress bar runs along the bottom of your lesson, and it shows students how much more of the lesson they have to complete. Similarly, this is an ongoing score, so that if you set this to yes, students will be able to see what their grade is as they move through the lesson. If you click yes here, a list of pages will be displayed on the left. This setting allows you to determine whether a student needs to receive a minimum grade before they can see the left menu. If you click yes here, the lesson will be displayed as a slideshow with a set width and height. This is a really important setting here. It's the maximum number of answers that will show up when you're creating your lesson. 4 is not very many. You probably want to have at least 10 or 12 here. You can always come back and change this if you need more. This is another important setting. There is feedback that will automatically be generated when a student gets an incorrect or a correct response. Now you can put in your own feedback, but it's good to set this to yes so you don't have to put in the common feedback like correct or good job. If there was more activities in this lesson, this setting would allow you to link to another activity, perhaps a quiz, that a student would be automatically directed to at the end of the lesson. Availability is pretty straightforward. If you want to enable a date where students can access a lesson, you would just click and set your date. And in the same way, you can set a deadline for when the lesson needs to have been finished. You can set a time limit, and you can password protect your lesson. If you click yes here, this would open up for you to put in a password. If you want to see it, just unmask it. I'm going to get rid of that. This is a handy feature. It allows you to set a prerequisite. So if you don't want your students taking this lesson until they've completed another lesson, you can make this lesson dependent on another lesson. So in this case, I have a lesson here that we could say you can't complete this lesson until you have completed this assignment. You could also say that the prerequisite is that they have spent 20 minutes on the lesson before, or that it's just been completed, or that they received a specific grade. This is your flow control through the lesson. You can allow student review, which means that students can navigate through the lesson from the start. You can provide an option to try the question again. This means that the student will be given a choice as to whether they want to move on or they're going to try the question one more time. This setting sets the maximum number of attempts that can be taken before the student is automatically directed on to the next page of the lesson. After a student answers a question correctly, there are 3 options for the next page. They can just follow the lesson path, you can direct them to an unseen page, or you can show an unanswered page if they need more practice. This setting shows you the number of pages to show in a lesson. If it's set at 0, then all the pages of the lesson are shown. This is the type of grading that you can set. So you can set it as point, or you can set it as scale, which would open up this option, which gives you a bunch of different options. Or if you set it as point, then you can fill in the maximum number of points that you want that lesson to be worth. This setting allows you to specify which category you would like the lesson to be placed in your gradebook. This can also be done after the lessons are created. Within the gradebook, you can move this lesson into the correct category. You can specify whether this is a practice lesson or not. If you specify practice lesson, then the lesson will not show up in your gradebook. If you want to give each of your lessons a numerical point value, you would click Yes here. This is when you specify whether students may retake the lesson or not. If you decide that retakes are allowed, this is a setting where you can decide how you want those retakes to be counted. Finally, here is the minimum number of questions. If you set it at 0, you can create as many questions as you like. This is where you can either show or hide the lesson. Here, you can add restrictions if you like. Here are some of the added restrictions that you can use in your lesson. If you have completion tracking enabled in your course, this is where you can decide how you would like to use this. So your options are students can manually mark the activity as completed. You could have do not indicate activity completion, or show activity as complete when the conditions are met. If you choose this one, then you can decide whether the students just need to view the activity to complete it, or if they must receive a grade to complete the activity. Finally, you can set a date where you expect students to have completed the lesson. Once you have finished, save and display your lesson.